Put on your freaking rocket suits and your gas masks and your seat belts and your moon boots, because we're about to go to space, y'all. All right? Strap in. We're doing some dream talk.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Let's Talk Sis. I'm Shekinah, your host, and as we spend time together, I can promise you 3 things. I'll be honest, I'll make you laugh, and I won't hold back. Let's Talk Sis is your essential girl talk destination where you'll hear about life from the perspective of a Black woman in America, as our stories often go untold. I can assure you, while honest, we are a community for growth and love. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Now sit back, relax, and let's talk, sis. Hello. Welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Sis. All right, this is a podcast for Black women, okay, who are deeply emotional, have not felt seen, heard, or valued. Sis, we have room for you here. Okay, I am your host, Shekinah, and this is absolutely one of my favorite places to be. All right, this is a community built on conversation. All right, so it's not just about me getting up here yapping on the mic. I want to hear from you as well. So if you have a timeline topic, a let's talk topic, or a question you want discussed on the podcast, go ahead and send me an email to the Let's Talk Sis pod at gmail.com, and we will absolutely get into the things. All right. Okay. Now, if you are new here or you just simply need a reminder, the Let's Talk Sis brand is all about promoting authenticity in conversation. We want to heal, grow, and inspire our audience. So if you love what we are doing here, you can help keep the conversation going by supporting Let's Talk Sis. So to make it easy, there are many ways that you can support the pod, okay? The first way of support is through engagement. Like the episode, comment, and if you don't know what to say, purple hearts, emojis, and sparkles are always welcome in the comment section, okay? The more you engage with the episodes, the better I perform on the algorithm, and therefore we are able to grow, okay? And speaking of growth, if you want to support, the next way you can do that is by sharing the podcast. Share it with people you know, people you think would enjoy, or people you think might relate to the things that we're talking about here. We are building a community, so I need your help to find the right people. All right. And last but certainly not least, you can support Let's Talk Sis on a monetary level. All right. You can support us via Cash App and send us a little something to $kinda 8, the number 8, okay? Or you can buy me a coffee. You can visit buymeacoffee.com/Let's Talk Sis or hit the link in the show notes, all right? Whichever way you choose to support us, it helps us to grow our team, improve our content, and keep the mission moving forward. Every contribution, from comments to cash, all right, makes a real difference in us being able to build this community brick by brick. So thank you for all that you do. All right, I appreciate y'all. All right, y'all. So let's get into it. It is time for our timeline topic of the week. Name that show what I just referenced, okay? So our timeline topic this week is a static post from Dr. Caroline Leaf. All right, I'm going to read it to you for those who are listening and cannot see the visuals. By the way, you're missing out on the whole experience if you're not on YouTube, but I definitely appreciate the listens. All right. First, she says, this is a carousel, so it's multiple posts. She says, sometimes you don't realize how terribly someone treated you until you're explaining it to someone else. Your mind normalizes what it's repeatedly exposed to. That's called adaptation.
and it runs without your input. Saying it out loud is the first time your conscious mind hears it. Words make patterns visible in ways that thoughts alone cannot. The mind that lived through it built a tolerance to it. The mind explaining it to a safe person hasn't. The gap is where the truth gets in. Someone who treats people the way they treat you is already living with whatever produced that behavior. Direct that energy towards your own healing. That's where acceptance actually is. All right, so I'm going to read that one more time for the people in the back, okay? Because what Dr. Caroline is getting into is something real deep, and I think we all need to kind of pay attention. All right. She says one more time, sometimes you don't realize how terribly someone has treated you until you're explaining it to someone else. Your mind normalizes what it's repeatedly exposed to. That's called adaptation, and it runs without your input. Okay? Saying it out loud for the first time, your conscious mind actually hears it. Words make patterns visible in a way that thoughts alone cannot. The mind that lived through it built a tolerance. The mind explaining it to a safe person has not. That gap is where truth gets in. Someone who treats people the way they treated you is already living with whatever produced that behavior. Direct that energy toward your own healing. That's where acceptance actually is. All right. I wanted to share this timeline topic because it basically kind of alluded to us normalizing our trauma, right? When we don't express ourselves, when we don't have outlets and safe spaces and places to tell people what the hell done happened to us, we normalize things. We overcompensate for people. We allow certain energies and behaviors into our lives that we actually don't deem acceptable. But because we haven't ever actually taken a moment to see the pattern of behavior that these people are exhibiting upon us, we're just stuck in a cycle. We're just going along to get along. We're just accepting any old thing. And I think I really was inclined to share that because it's one thing to say, hey, tell people your story. Tell people the most fucked up things that you've been through and all your hardships and your traumas, and be open and express and share, right? Like, it's one thing to say that to people, but are we actually creating space for them to do that? Are we genuinely interested in those stories? Are we truly leaving an impression upon people that we care about their wounds and the things that they're carrying? And so I don't know. I think it is so important to share those things. And because of that, Let's Talk Sis exists. Right? Because of that, Girls Night In exists. Because of that, Found Her Future is created. I know it is invaluable sharing your story, sharing your experience, telling people what happened to you. And it's not so that you can all of a sudden become this victim and all of a sudden have, all this empathy. or people, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and woe is me for you. But it is so that people know you can get through that. Wait a minute. The most horrific things in the world can happen to me, and I can still find love. I can still be successful. God still loves me. There's still a calling on my life. I can still laugh. Wait a minute. Right? So it's and sometimes when we normalize the trauma, our bodies, our spirits have a natural reaction, which is to shut down, which is to isolate, which is to become depressed. And so, because we've normalized this trauma, our bodies do what they naturally do with trauma. We also have normalized this depression, this isolation, this shutdown, this seclusion. And so, then it's not until you start telling people your story, it's not until you start getting out there and saying what's happened to you, that you realize, oh wait, I'm not the only one. There is community on the other side of this. There is an opportunity to overcome, right? And so I don't know. There's a lot of layers to it, and because on one hand, what I am saying is I don't want people to think it's so simple and so easy just to tell people what you done been through, right? I know that comes with a safe space, that comes with knowing the people in the room, the environment that you're in is an okay place to do that, with a certain amount of self-awareness, right? That you have to even come to admit certain things. But I also want to encourage us to explore that avenue, explore that pathway, because there is so much victory and triumph and overcome in owning your traumas, right? Accepting that it is what it is and that you are still worthy, valuable, victorious, etc., even with, right? In addition to, and maybe even because of. Right. So, the comments say I've definitely had the experience of seeing someone react to me sharing my experience. And in the moment, I realized, oh, this isn't normal. Yeah. Yeah. And owning our story is powerful because you hold the cards. And the thing about realizing that it isn't normal per se is relative, right? Because some things that are normal, shit, I don't want no parts of. Certain, groups that normalize things we don't want parts of, but there is something to understanding that there are alternative universes. There are other ways to live. There is not one story to the attached to this trauma, right? We're going to talk about my universe and how it's expanding, but a key to the universe is its intersectionality with other people's universes, meaning you connected with me. But because you connected with me, you're now connected with him, her, them, and them. And they are all showing you how you can live. How you can live. They are all telling you their own traumas and experiences and stories. And now you get the opportunity to see, wait a minute. I don't have to be sad because I was a victim of this thing. Because everybody around me told me I should be miserable and I should feel like nothing. But you telling me I could do that. Wait a minute. I don't have to be mediocre in my livelihood, and the things I aspire to, because everybody around me told me I was tripping for wanting to be a multimillionaire or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Wait a minute, black folks are into anime and comics, because everybody around me told me I was tripping. So it's that expression and that telling of the story that allow people to see there are alternate universes, there are different ways to live, that trauma is not the author of your story, that you can share who you are, what you've been through, and find community on the other side. So, with that being said, let's get into our Let's Talk topic of the week. All right. And this week, y'all, we are talking about my universe. My universe and how it is expanding and growing, right? I'm not sure if y'all remember. I think a while ago I shared with y'all something I call my brand ecosystem, but it's basically, and it's so, all right, it's out there. Okay, we're going to space. Let me start here. Put on your freaking rocket suits and your gas masks and your seat belts and your moon boots, because we're about to go to space, y'all. All right? Strap in. We're doing some dream talk. When I say my universe, what I mean is the branches, the spaces, the places, the platforms, the programs, the entities, the containers, the places in which I exist. Okay. Because it could be in any of those mediums. Okay. And these are places in which I exist that serve in the purpose of promoting authenticity, leading people to one encounter with Jesus and themselves, really. Any space you find me in, that's what we doing. We are either leading people to have an encounter with Christ, or to have an encounter with themselves, or the intersectionality of the two. So that is in essence my universe. In my universe exist different planets. These planets are the mediums in which I utilize to achieve that goal, right? So whether that is a podcast, whether that is a girls' night in, whether that is an internship program, whether that is client services such as life coaching, such as podcast production, such as digital product production and ebook production and those kinds of things. Those are the planets that exist on the universe, okay? Or within the universe. So the universe has a couple different planets, right? There are 5 planets that I've identified right now, which means, essentially the primary mediums in which I'm going to deliver my intended impact of leading people to Christ, leading people to themselves, or the intersectionality of the two. So I do that through client services, nonprofit, merchandise, owned media, and speaking and hosting events. So right now we are on the owned media side of things. So with that being said, podcast production. All right. We are creating, again, the Let's Talk topic is growth in the universe, and these places where people, to our further earlier points, can come, be authentic, be themselves. We've got podcasts, all right? We've got the Let's Talk Sis podcast, which you're listening to now. All right. We also have From Auntie with Love. Okay. Now, From Auntie with Love, I've talked to y'all about this before, but we are out. Okay. We out here. We are out here. Okay. We come out the first and third Sunday of the month. These are four aunties from different walks of life. And girl, we be down there cackling. Okay, having a good old time. I love a Kiki. I love a good old, now what you be doing when you do this? Now, getting into the business kind of conversation where the tea is hot. Yeah, that's the aunties. Now, it's good because we are all from different generations, okay? We are all from different generations and all have different views and standards and values, as it pertains to things like dating and the internet and how black women are seen in media, what traditional wife looks like all the things. Like, we have our opinions, okay, and we are sharing them down on Beyonce's internet. Okay, so you can find that on the Minding My Black Ass Business podcast network on YouTube. Okay, the link to that will be in the show notes, so you can find us there every first and third Sunday. All right, we also do live premieres, so we be in the chat, y'all, hooting and hollering and talking about. The chat is a whole different, the chat is a whole nother experience from what the aunties is talking about. Like, you might even have to watch the episode twice, once for the chat, once for the episode. Like, it's really a lot that be going on. Okay, so I would love for y'all to pull up and show some love there. Okay, the next podcast that I am a part of is Brands, Business, and Boundaries. Now, this one just kind of literally like came up out of nowhere. Okay, I said to my girl Kimberly, I said, hey, we should do co-working on Thursdays live, where we, both come with projects and things we want to work on, and we can just, co-work and do it on live and invite people, and it'll be a good time, like a place for us to know we have these dedicated 2 hours to get to working. Well, one thing about Kimberly and myself, I think everybody should know, is we probably can't be in any space together and not talk about something. we gonna talk about something. Okay, we gonna have something to say. All right, and it's gonna be good. Now it's gonna be good, and thus Brands, Business, and Boundaries was formed. And so this is where we talk about those three things. How do you balance the three, and how do you show up fully in who you are in your brand, who you are in your business, and we equip you with the tools, to have boundaries. We've talked about things like microaggressions, the creative crash out. What happens when a creative just doesn't create? They're denying, who they are, and then all of a sudden they crash out. They done quit their job, slam doors. Oh, wait, that's me. I'm sorry. Anywho, it's a good time. So you can catch us on live. If you want to catch the episode live, you can catch us live on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. Or you can catch the episode replays. They're a few weeks behind, but they're still just as good, juicy, and detailed on YouTube on Thursdays at 5 p.m. All right, so you can either catch us at 12 for the co-working. We usually end up doing our brands, business, and boundaries talk around 1:30. In that time frame, so about 1:30 we get on the line yapping, or you can catch us down to the YouTube at 5 p.m. for the replay. Oh, okay, all right. So also, an expansion of my universe is something that we kind of just figured out in my life coaching certification courses, and that is kind of like my speaking and hosting planet, and what that kind of looks like. So one of the things I already told you about was our girls night in events, the First Friday and the Whimsy events. So those are basically, I'm booking myself, okay, to host some things. So that girls' night in kind of galaxy is going to expand a little bit more. We'll have some different arms because we are international. It has been brought to my attention that we can't always host things at 7 p.m. Eastern. We got to maybe move some things to morning time so that we can help our girlies that are on opposite time zones and accommodate them and give them some places to respite as well. And then we also kind of uncovered in my life coaching program that the life coaching that I'm envisioning myself doing may, but probably won't be the traditional sense, in that there are these modules that we go through. It's a 12-week program, and by the end of the program, you'll have this and that. It's more so taking those tools, those understanding, those concepts, those skills that I'm learning as a life coach and implementing them in these different spaces that I'm creating. And so, kind of in that brainstorming, we took some of the outcomes and the objectives that I want my clients, my participants, my audience to have, and we kind of said, well, okay, well, let's make those keynotes, right? Let's make those keynote speeches. One main thing I want people to take away from my life coaching program is the power of a reframe, right? I talked about that before. I'm also want to address the idea of cycle syncing. As women, how do we incorporate our body's natural cycles and changes into our productivity schedule, into our marketing plan, right? How do we weave that in to be the most efficient and best performing, that we can be. All of those are things that I can speak about as a keynote, and we were kind of able to uncover that in the life coaching program. I also told her, we also kind of shared a upcoming podcast idea that I have. I'll save it for another time to tell y'all until I'm really, fully in that bag. But it offers me the opportunity to kind of satisfy that panel guest slash moderation galaxy, if you will, because I'll be bringing together, different people, different women in an intentional way to kind of talk about, their experience with certain things, and with certain levels of belief and spirituality and things of that nature. So those are kind of two planets, if you will, in the sisterhood universe that are built out. Client services is kind of the next planet that we're tackling, again, by me getting my life coaching certification. That is the client service that I offer. You guys have heard me speak before about Brand Bestie, so that's my branding consulting services that I offer. I do have a bachelor's degree in marketing and advertising and promotion with a communication minor, so not only did I study this stuff in school, but I live it every day in promoting my podcast and working with different clients. So I do have expertise that I'm able to offer there as well. And how does that accomplish the goal of people finding Jesus for themselves? Well, I definitely believe that part of your brand has to definitely be who you are. And if you don't know who you are, honey, your brand is built on hay, and we want brands built on bricks. Amen. So, part of my consulting, part of my process, right, is who are you, right? It's always going to identify one of those two lenses and lanes. And then the nonprofit planet, we spoke about Founder Future last week, so you guys can check that episode out, to hear more about that. As we grow, as we expand, we are definitely going to be looking for partners who want to sponsor this program, who want to get behind us monetarily, who want to see us grow, have more access and more resources to support the women who are participating in the collective. So that is definitely something we will be opening up sponsorships for soon, so be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, merchandise. I have so many fun ideas this would have been a perfect episode to wear my shirt for. I would have been thinking, but I wore it last week. But we've got merchandise. I've got games, card games, board games that I want to come out with that you guys can purchase to really, again, promote that authenticity and conversation, understanding who you are, finding deeper ways to commune and converse with, all the people that you love, the people that are in your universe, and things of that nature. So that is that on that. And I just want to, close out with saying, I am sharing, my universe. I am sharing the things that I am working to kind of build. It's a similar concept of, how they say you have to have 7 streams of income. You can kind of think of it as that. But I want to encourage everyone who is listening to do the same for yourselves, Kimberly and I were talking earlier and talking about some of our students in our collective and people in general, and how sometimes you have this idea and you think you can only go about it one way, and how we don't allow ourselves the freedom and the opportunity to indulge in a universe, to indulge in a diaspora of our abilities and our skills. And not that we have to tackle everything at once, and not that it all has to happen at the same time, but you would be amazed how taking one step towards one thing, one star in that universe, can intersect and collide with the entire situation, right? Me trying to pursue my life coaching certification helped, as well as me being in the podcast production moderator space inspired Girls Night In. Me being in that space inspired Girls Night In. Listening to another podcaster say the things she was saying, being a moderator in that space, being in the comments, and me being like, okay, you know what? We're going to do Girls Night In. We're going to create this thing, right? Now I got the idea. Me pursuing my life coaching certification has given me so many tools and resources to now make that space so much more effective, so much more impactful, so much more intentional. And that intersectionality, I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't have guessed that, right? And so I say that because, again, when you know your creator, when you are pursuing Christ and you are pursuing yourself, you will see how much intersectionality is divinely orchestrated in your life. How you think you on just this path right here, I'm just going to the left, that's all I'm doing, and then stuff from the right just divinely intersects with that. You can't predict that kind of stuff. So I want to encourage you all to kind of create your own universes, and it doesn't have to look as visually aesthetically drawn out as mine. You can start on a piece of paper and just do a web and draw lines from here and there, or it could just be bullet points or lists or whatever, to get your ideas out. But it's helpful. Like the comment says, this feels like a fun activity that everyone can do. Build out their own universe. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your universe. It helps to understand what you are building and how to connect things. Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for listening. Yes, the spaces naturally get curated and then dots start to connect. Absolutely. So, this week's conversation challenge is, what does your universe look like? Exactly that. I want you guys to start planning, start dreaming, start imagining, and know my universe is not insulated. I want us to collaborate. I want us to engage and intersect. And I want to know who's listening and who's watching and who's in the comments and who cares about what we got going on. Right? I want to know how my Girls Night In can support something you got going on, or how Brand Bestie can come and facilitate whatever project you working on or youth your speak. Like, I want to collaborate and have our universes collide and engage. Okay, so what does your universe look like? Listen, if y'all want to find more Let's Talk Sis, you can always connect with the sisterhood down to the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikToks, all the things. Okay, just search up the Let's Talk Sis podcast, and girl, there you will find me. All right. And if you have not already, please be sure to subscribe or like this episode. All right. If you didn't get anything, if you didn't hear anything or find anything valuable, I don't know that you were listening. So just rewind for me real quick. Get out your notebook. Take a couple notes. All right. Thank you. And then go ahead and share this with people you love, people you know will connect with the content. And I will be right back here with y'all next week. I will see you then. Love you. Bye.